Have you ever thought that self-care is actually just too hard? Everything's a priority. Make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you eat right. Make sure you exercise. Make sure you meditate. Like, it seems like it's ongoing and just intense, just another responsibility. I'm Christy Bundakumara. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I teach on mental strength. I just got out of 45 days of grief, and in the midst of that, on day 20, I realized I had spent 17 years of really not taking care of myself. And I have a whole video on the 5 selves and self-care. Go over and watch those that kind of talk about the details of what self-care is. Today, I want to talk about why it feels difficult. And, right now I'm going through intense grief. I've lost 3 children over 17 years. I was kind of in a fight or flight during that period of time. And there was always a priority over my health. So in 2005, my son, Johnny, died in a drowning accident. And the shock and the grief that came after that was really more about self-care, not self-care, of care of my other children. His biological sisters, Christina and Kayla, that's all I could think about. And that's all I was putting my time and energy into. And then my son, Reggie, started having seizures. And then, it was multiple doctor's appointments. And then it was a rare neurodegenerative diagnosis for my son, Reggie. And so there was just thing after thing. And I'm sure your life is the same way. It's like there's always something that takes that priority. And we often use the analogy in the airplane where they say, put on your mask first before you put on your child's. And if you're a parent in a stressful situation, actually doing that would be difficult and might not be what you innately do. I can tell you that if there's an indication in my life, it's not what I innately do. I do not take care of myself first before taking care of others. And so in the midst of raising 7 kids, one with severe special needs, having lost a son, going through that grief, then my daughters started rebelling in their teenage years and kind of trying to respond to that. It was just, there was something that was always a priority. In 2016, my son Reggie died. And instead of taking a step back and taking care of myself, I jumped into the next endeavor. I've got to help more people. And that's when I opened Mentally Strong and I started teaching the Mentally Strong method. But I still wasn't taking care of myself. I'm a caretaker at heart. And if you're a caretaker at heart, taking care of yourself is important and probably not your priority. And in 2021, my daughter Maya, who had seizures and developmental delay from the same neurodegenerative condition, but not sick at all, died in her sleep of sudden unexpected death and epilepsy. And I had no one else to care for. This 45 days of grief that I've been talking about and we're going through, please go and watch the rest of the videos. If you know someone who's lost a child or have intense grief, please share this series with them. I went through 45 days of grief, and I chose 45 because it was exactly the number of days between the anniversary of my son's death and the 1-year anniversary of Maya's death. It's still raw. I can't even speak about it. And in that time, every single day, I tried to do something to care for myself. I tried to do something to grieve. I did meditation. I tried to take care of myself. I tried to actually go through a grieving process. I researched multiple grief theories. You can see those videos. And just try to really get a handle on how do we grieve. And on day 20, it hit me as I was going through some of the results of some testing that I did. I haven't taken care of myself in a really long time. I've done basic things, but I had ignored a nodule in my thyroid. I just really wasn't taking care of myself. And now that I don't have anyone to care for, I have no excuse for not taking care of myself. And I realize, like I said in the beginning, it's always something. Everybody thinks there's this formula, their formula that they teach that is self-care. Someone who's really into exercise will say, these things, if you do these things, that's self-care. Someone who's into meditation will say, if you do these things, that is self-care. And you'll see in the next video, I'm really trying to find my truth and find what works for me in that self-care. So it's not about doing everything. It's about doing something. Let that sink in for a second. When it comes to self-care, it's not about doing everything. It's about doing something. So find that something that fills your cup, not that something that is another responsibility. Because I believe that you are mentally strong.